Okay, I think I just accepted.
Okay. So I'm with Andrew from The Point, correct?
That's correct.
And I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about what The Point is.
Sure. So the point is a platform for people to come together and organize group actions. They can be things like events, or they can be boycotts, or they can be fundraisers. What's unique about the point is that all these actions have a tipping point. So people are agreeing to do something, but it's conditional on a certain number of people joining and coming together and saying, yes, I agree to do it, or a certain amount of money being raised. So if you're doing a fundraiser, you might have a goal of a couple $100s or whatever, but nobody's credit card is actually nicked until you hit that goal. Or if you're doing a boycott, or you're trying to pressure an organization into changing somehow, instead of just starting the boycott immediately, you wait until you have enough people committed to the action that the collective cost of the action will be greater than the benefit of not changing to the targeted organization. So the idea is to create a system where, more than just using groups on the web to talk about things, and to actually use the power of groups as leverage towards incentivizing change in one way or another, or forcing things to happen.
Right. And so the reason, I should explain to you while it's being recorded. I mean, the reason why I wanted to reach out and contact you is because since I sort of went public with Spot Us, which is what I'm going to be working on, several people have contacted me and been like, "Oh, have you checked out The Point?" Which actually I had checked out before, but since winning and even more people being like, "Oh, you should check out The Point." I really wanted to reach out and just talk with you and see if I could get a brain dump from you. Um, and because I think one thing that you've tapped into, which to your credit, is the idea that you do have to reach this tipping point before anything occurs. And so it's sort of like you're committing to do an action if you get enough people, and that's sort of something that you have leveraged. Um, I have a couple questions. One is um, are there any situations in which that doesn't work, have you found, where it's like people really just want to act right away and they're not waiting for this tipping point?
Yeah, sure. Well, the point, this model only works for those situations where every little bit doesn't count. And there's countless examples of situations where every little bit does count. If you want to plant a tree, you don't need to wait for 100 other people to plant trees. Or if you want to, go volunteer at the homeless shelter, there's no reason to wait for 100 people to do that. Where the point really works well is when you need to construct this kind of beast made out of humans, that is able to take on a larger beast, that where every little bit doesn't count. Situations like for example, taking on a larger organization, or if you're trying to fundraise for something with a discrete goal. You know, you need $1,000 for a ping pong. That's an expensive ping pong table, but you need $1,000 for something, and if you have $990, then it's not enough. You might as well have zero. So we're very much focused on that sort of campaign where you need to meet certain conditions in order for someone's investment of time or money to be worthwhile. Um, we've since launching, one of the things we've learned is that reaching a tipping point of money or people is just one form of a condition that might cause a campaign or an action to tip. Another thing that's really compelling is the idea of tipping once a third party has agreed to do something, which would allow you to, instead of having a stick campaign or an ultimatum of sorts where you're threatening to boycott when you reach a certain number of people, you can promise to do something good or offer a reward of some sort, right? A carrot, and only do it once the third party agrees to change in whatever way you want. So in that case, the tipping point is a more conventional understanding of what a tipping point is. It's some third party agreeing at some point or to change, and then the campaign is manually tipped and that action is activated. So that's what we're working on right now with this site, is enabling those kind of carrot campaigns, the positive
Positive, yeah.
incentive. Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's actually a different way of looking at it. And again, like I imagine Spot Us being like you were talking about fundraising. I mean, Spot Us is going to be specifically about fundraising to hire a reporter to cover something in your area, and it sort of doesn't work if you don't get everybody on board or enough people on board. But and as you were saying, that sort of incentivizes individuals to spread word on their behalf because they want this. If they really want this to happen, they'll try and get lots of people. I wanted to ask you,
Right.
so if I looked at it, it looks like the point is built in Ruby on Rails. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Was that a conscious decision, or is that just something you felt comfortable
Completely
with?
unconscious. It was like
Well,
we just
you woke up and well, I mean, like, were
yeah.
you looking at other things, or was that something you had your heart set on?
What happened? We hired one of the first people we hired is a really brilliant guy named Brendan Baldwin. He's a developer here, and he was really crazy about Ruby on Rails, and um, so we just decided to go with it basically because we found a good developer that could write in it. Um, so yeah, that's why it happened
Okay.
that way.
And I really like, I mean, the point is very sleek, and I also like the little. If you guys are watching this, you should go to thepoint.com, and in the like lower right hand corner, you have these like cartoons. I don't know what to call them. They're like cartoons basically. Those are really clever. I'm curious how long, like, well, I'm assuming you guys you must have some sort of financial backing. Is that, or is this what are you guys backed by? How did you guys launch?
Money and
Right, but
cattle.
is it any like is it a VC firm or is it just you guys coming together or
Yeah, it's VC. We've got real money now. So the way it started is I was in school for public policy. I used to be a developer, and then I stopped developing to go back to school for public policy. And while I was there, one of these angel types that I knew from before heard about the idea for the point through someone, and called me up and said, "You need to drop out of school and take this money and start this company." And so I did, and that was $1 million right there that we got off the bat. And we ran off that for the first year or so, and while we launched and developed the product, and then we raised money from NEA back in January, which
and
is
here's another question just again out of left field for the fundraising campaigns because that's the one I'm most interested in. If someone obviously the money doesn't sort of transfer until you have reached the full tipping point, where does the money go in the meantime? Or is it just like the credit card information's on hand and it's just sort of
yeah. What we use is a service called Trust Commerce, their Citadel service. So people enter their credit card information, and we store it in this third-party super secure vault. And then if the campaign tips, we access their credit card information and charge their card at that time.
mm,
And so it could be, someone could enter their credit card when they join the campaign. In fact, you have to. And then you might not get charged, until 2 years later when the campaign tips. Of course, we're emailing people monthly reminders of their kind of pending financial commitments, so it doesn't sneak up on them. But yeah, that's the way it works. So we don't actually take the money. We thought if we took the money and then refund it to them, that would force us to have like deadlines on all the campaigns, and we thought
right.
it was more interesting to keep it open, and then just knock people out when their credit card expires or something like that. But we thought part of what we were trying to enable with these fundraisers are these long shot causes, things like, the example I like to use was if someone came around door to door and said, "I'm raising, $1 billion to blow up the moon," you would laugh at him and not give him any money because you'd know that he would never reach that goal amount and the moon would never get blown up. But on a campaign on the point, the question changes. You no longer have to consider, is this likely to happen or not? All you have to consider is, what would it be worth to me to see this happen? And what other people do, you can take that out of the equation. And you can so you say, would it be worth $20 to me to see the moon blow up? That's a Mr. Show reference, I should say, by the way. But, is it worth $20 to me to see the moon blow up? And yes, of course it would be. To a lot of people, it would be worth $20 to see the moon blow up. And you're kind of teasing out these these latent preferences that people have. And before you know it, you've aggregated enough to actually make something happen that wouldn't otherwise occur.
And that's part of the reason why you have these open-ended. There's no deadline on the campaigns.
Yeah. And so we have some crazy campaigns on there. Like there's one to build a dome over Chicago.
Right.
It's for
I think I
$10
saw one about
billion.
floating a banana over Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hoping,
I almost joined that one just because for exactly, that would be kind of
because
cool
why
to
not?
think, right? Um, well, so I have one last question for you, and then I'll let you go, and thank you again for your time.
Sure.
Um, and this is for Spot Us, which I know you sort of just got put on your radar maybe about 10 minutes ago. But do you have any advice for someone like me who's I mean it's going to be not exactly like the point. I mean again it's going to be collective action around a very specific vertical, which is local enterprise reporting, which is suffering. And in my mind, this is one solution to sort of enable that kind of reporting to make sure it continues. But do you have any advice for me?
Um, uh, I think it's great that you guys are as focused as you are. That helps people really. It's really easy to get what your site is about, and that's good. One of the mistakes that we made, and it's a mistake that I feel that. I mean, I read about this mistake a million times before I made it, but you don't know how to avoid it until you've made it, kind of. But it's finding out what it means to keep it simple, to cut the feature set to exactly what you need. The problem is if you've never done it before, like I hadn't, you feel like you need everything, and it's hard to know what you need and you don't need. Um, and we're now kind of going through this redesign process over the next month, where we've really cut things down and focused things on exactly what we know we need. The other thing would be get it out in front of users as quickly as you can. This is all like the stuff that you read on every blog about startups and
Right.
entrepreneurship, but that's the stuff that's rung the truest to me. Get it in front of people as soon as you can. We were kind of forced into stealth for a long time, and we would have avoided a lot of the mistakes we made in execution had we been able to get it in front of users sooner.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Andrew from thepoint.com. Let's see if I know how to stop this from recording. There it is.